everybody, it's Cole with Rookie Ace, and we're here with another Wings of Glory Wednesdays. Just wanted to let you know, since I've been busy, I've not had the chance to continue working on the painting models yet. I'm thinking that sometime this weekend, I'm actually going to get some time to really sit down and enjoy painting those, so I'll be filming the painting and maybe even some of the masking if I get to that for an upcoming episode, so stay tuned. But in the meantime, I've got a scenario set up for you. We're going to do a scenario kind of breaking down some thought processes you can have if somebody is on your tail. Specifically, we're going to use the Camel and the DR1 for our examples here because they're just such an iconic matchup. Alright, so you see here, we've got the Camel on the tail of the DR1, and so as the DR1 pilot, here's what you need to be thinking about. So, you've got a DR1, the Camel is at range 2, long range, from you, and that means he's going to be shooting you with 1 card of A damage. So, the Camel definitely has the faster plane, so the last thing you want to do is just keep flying straight. Unless you're 100% sure you're going to fool him, but the Camel's got the fangs out, he's chasing you. The last thing you want to do is fly straight, because you have the slower plane, he'll close that distance, and then he'll be at range 1, close range, and he'll be shooting you with 2 of these cards, and that can be pretty deadly in a fragile little plane like the DR1. So, what are you going to do? Well, it's highly subjective. One thing, let's first look at it as if each plane had no climb counters, because climb counters play a crucial role in this sort of stuff. So, if your plane had no climb counters, what would you do? Well, the DR1 does have some nice options. You have 2 hard right turns that you can use with it. The problem with that is, if you plan 2 hard right turns, you're pretty much saying to yourself, okay, for this first turn, I'm not going to get a shot off at my guy, and he's going to come in real close, and he's going to give me damage, and then, as I get myself turned around, the turns are really tight for sure, but probably he'll have blown by you in that time, and so you'll have just given him a really nice shot at yourself, and you won't be able to shoot back. So I don't know if I'd recommend that with this sight picture on the table. So, what else could you do? Well, in this situation, a dive card is a pretty good option in my opinion, because here's why. As you dive, you lose a peg of altitude, so now this guy's going to be down to altitude 2. Let me just, whoa, he fell off his gimbal. Alright, so he's down there, he's diving. And then the Camel will still be in pursuit, but unless he's managed to close the gap and get to within range 1, you're completely out of range and safe. Now, if the Camel pilot gets greedy and dives after you, then you've got an advantage. Well, why is that? Because the Camel climbs on a 3. You climb on a 2. So, if the Camel gets greedy and dives after you, you can start climbing, and you can be back above him before he can claw his way back up to you. And then, you'll start to have all the cards. You could either continue to climb until you're well above him, and he can't get a shot at all. Or, you could just kind of motor around there and then take slashing shots with the +1 altitude rule if you're using that. And that rule basically, oh, sorry for nudging the camera there. That rule basically says if you're shooting at someone from a higher altitude, so that would have to be at range 1, because anything beyond range 1, you can't shoot anybody from a higher altitude. But if you shoot someone from range 1 close altitude, close range at higher altitude, then you add 1 point of damage to whatever you dealt him, just because you have the advantage with energy and lining up your shot. So you could choose to do that. Now, let's say both planes are at the same altitude, and each one of them has 1 climb counter. Okay, remember, the Camel climbs on a 3, so it needs 2 more of these before it can raise its peg in altitude. And the DR1 climbs on a 2. So, here's a rather nice little idea. If you've already done a straight, you can immediately start out by playing an Implosion. What that'll do is, yes, it'll turn you around, and yes, you're going to get shot, but once again, since an Implosion gives you a climb counter, that's your second climb and you'll be up a peg of altitude again, and you'll be shooting down at him. And, whoa, I tell you, this little thing just wants to fall off on me. And so, usually, the plane that is higher up has all the cards, because they can choose to dive at will, and the other plane will be taking some serious time to climb. It's not foolproof. It is heavily relying on luck of the draw. So, like, the Camel could get a fantastic shot with one of the cards, and you could deal him a random 0. That's just the luck of the game. Sometimes you just have to risk a little bit to win. So that's a way you could do it. Or, one thing you could try is if you have that one climb counter, and he's on your tail, you could try playing a climb, but that really doesn't seem very bright at all, because that slows you down, the Camel gets right on your tail, and yes, you're up a peg of altitude, but you can't shoot back, and you just gave the Camel a free shot. That's why I'd lean in favor of the Immelman turn again. Did I say Immelman? I probably did. I just need to wash my mouth out with soap. Okay. Yes, an Immelman turn. Okay. Anyway. So, yeah, so that's how you do it with the DR1 being the person being pursued. Now, let's reverse the situation. Let's say the DR1 is chasing down the Camel. So, let's say they both have no climb counters. Alright, so as the Camel pilot, one thing that you have on your side is speed. You're faster than the DR1. You can't outclimb him, but you're faster. So, a interesting little trick you could try would be to plan 3 straights in a row, if you have the room on the table. Because oftentimes, whenever anybody starts to get shot by an opposing plane, their reaction is to flinch and maneuver to the right or to the left. Now, unless your pilot knows you very well that you're facing, he's probably going to expect you to flinch. And doing this would probably surprise your opponent, because you just fly straight and distance yourself from the DR1 since it can't catch up with you. And he'll probably have anticipated a turn or something, and he'll have already maneuvered to the right or to the left to counter that. So what that'll do is, yes, you'll probably take bullets on the first 1 or 2 cards, but by the 3rd card, almost guaranteed, you should be out in the clear. And what you can do with that is, the Camel, when it's out in the clear, you can take some time to sweep around and maybe bank a climb counter or 2 using the climb card, and then come back in and engage with an angle that'll give you a shot, and maybe you'll find an angle that'll work so that you can even get on his tail without him getting a shot back at you. That's the ideal situation. And sometimes extending out to reposition allows you to do just that. Another really classic Camel maneuver would be another 3-card set. You could do this. You could plan 3 tight right turns in a row. Once again, the Camel is the only plane that has these 3 cards. Other planes like the DR1 happen to have 2, but no other plane that I know of has 3 of these. So, what this will do is, you plan 3 of these in a row, and yes, you are going to get shot with that first card. You're going to have to be willing to take that risk if you go this route. But then, by this card, unless he planned very tight turns, you should be in the clear, and you will completely be in the clear by this turn. And then you can keep this up literally indefinitely. Nobody's going to be able to keep up with you doing that. Now, if your DR1 opponent is smart, he can still get at you by doing a cheeky Immelman turn to get on your tail and making some slicing attacks. You know, he's not going to be able to hold that turn with you, but he'll come in and slice at you. So, what you can do is, you can use this when you feel that it's not expected. If your opponent is not expecting you to do a 360 tight rotation on a dime, this is the maneuver to pull. But then when you feel you're becoming predictable, you can spice things up with like maybe a straight and then a little Immelman turn in there, or, you know, just a wide turn if you think it'd gain some distance. So that's a very good thing you can do. And the DR1 is off the peg again. Alright. Now, if you're not trying to get a shot, and you're trying to extend, you could potentially use your wide turns to the right or to the left. Now, I would not advise using these if you're trying to out-turn anybody. If you're trying to turn inside someone, these are not going to serve you very well because they're wide. If you're trying to close the distance or extend away, they'll serve you quite well. So, as I said before, you could use your straights to extend the distance, but what if you want to adjust your heading just a bit? Well, you could do a straight and then throw one of these in the direction that you wish to go, or if you're trying to really just easily, lazily curve around, you could use these. You could use 3 of these, or you could mix in some little side slips. You know, the Camel's side slip is a straight. Basically, it's the same speed as a straight, but then it just adjusts your heading just a little bit. So you can use any combination of side slips, wide turns, and straights if you're trying to extend, but just adjust your heading a bit. So, if you have, let's just say you each have 1 climb counter. That is an interesting situation again. Remember, the DR1 can outclimb you. What you could do is, if you've got a read on your opponent and you think he's likely going to try and anticipate your maneuver and climb, you can try and trick him into climbing while you maybe dive. Now that takes a bit of planning and sometimes just a fair bit of luck. But if you're really hurt and he's really giving it to you, if you can trick him into thinking that you're going to be climbing, and then get him to pull an Immelman turn, gosh. If you can get him to pull an Immelman turn, you know, then he'll be raised 1 peg of altitude and you'll be below and he's got no shot. Other than that, you just have to, as you're flying around, if you find yourself extended and disengaged with no shot and he can't get a shot on you, if you're trying to climb, it might not be a bad idea to just throw a climb card in your 3-card set of hands, 3-card hand, and just bank that climb counter because, you know, you always can use climb counters unless you're trying to, like, you know, stay at the same altitude, in which case I'd be very judicious with planning the Immelman turns and the climbs. But yeah, so anyway, those are some of my thoughts about how to evade people if they're on your tail. Of course, I'm coming at it with the perspective of, first of all, minimize as much damage to yourself as possible, and get back in the game so you can shoot at them as quick as possible. And sometimes to do that, you have to extend, as in the Camel's case, because that is what's more favorable to the Camel in this position, or in the DR1's case, climb and turn about really tightly. You know, bring the Camel in close, grab it by the belt, so to speak. You know, that would be more favorable for the DR1. So, anyway, those are my thoughts. Of course, if you guys have other nuggets of wisdom or thoughts on tactics, I'd love to hear them. But until I see you all again, salute and blue skies. Hey guys, if you liked what you saw, don't forget to subscribe by clicking on the shield in the top left corner. If you really liked what you saw and want to be a part of helping us make better content in the future, check us out on Patreon. Until next time, thanks so much for watching, and blue skies.